Hello and welcome to PSGL COTA, following up from WOR COTA earlier in the week. And after this video, we are fully caught up and up to date with the League Racing videos, and I can return to posting more general content such as tutorials, track guides, hot laps. Also, I want to do a bit more iRacing and do sort of a road to like, I think 7k, as I think I'm on 6.6k at the moment. So yeah, more content on the channel is definitely on the way, but now to focus towards PSGL. Going into this, I felt actually really comfortable, really strong with my pace. And we are here in Q1 just pushing the car. You can see just sliding it around left and right and really trying to hook up the lap time out of it to its maximum capability, and it's going pretty well so far, to be honest. A few slides here or there, but the lap time potential has been there and is in a really strong way throughout the lap thus far. Really difficult to pick up and nail a lap here because you have to be such on the limit of the track. And you can see here, cutting the white line even, so it's a little bit of a guessing game every time you go through that braking zone and every single time you go through the apex on how you can maximize the width of the corner so you don't get a silly track limit invalidation. But it's the same for everyone, so it's all cards are equal. Coming into the second to last corner of the lap, super critical, turning in with a blind crest. So turn in when it feels right, but you can see we turned in a bit too early and actually had to turn out of the corner, and that cost me about a tenth and a half, if not more, during that one apex alone, and we went to a 0.9. What did mean that we were provisionally P12 in the session, and we have to be going again. And you can see at the bottom of your screen, we are actually down on the delta, so we are going to have a phenomenal final sector here to get back in contention to keep going through into Q2. Of course, we know that we have so much lap time to be found on the second to last corner of the lap, and you can see now we are starting to improve our delta, but we are actually still just over half a tenth down on Duncan, who was P11 but now has improved further up the order. We're half a tenth, almost a tenth up on our delta, as well as now we're going to the second to last corner. Really critical to nail this apex this time round. What can we do? And it's pretty sweet, a little bit of a wiggle on the exit, so it wasn't completely ideal but was still very solid enough. Throughout the final corner of the lap, running up to the line, and it's P11, so nice and comfortably through in this situation. First run in Q2 was using worn tyres just to continue to get more in the flow of things, and we go provisionally P4, what does turn into P5. First new tyre run here in Q2, hooking up the apex pretty well here, letting the car rotate. Nice traction on the exit, flat out through the right-hander, and now going through the first corner sequences, left, right, flat out again, left flat, throughout the double right, flat out again, and now just throwing into the left-hander down to fifth, pick up the rotation, and now try not to scrub off too much speed as you rise up over the crest here, and we invalidate! Oh, what a disaster. What a disaster so far in qualifying. It's been messy, it's not been clean, it's not been to the standard that I want to be producing, and now it's all down to the final run here in Q2 to give ourselves a shot of getting into the final part of qualifying and fighting for pole position. So everything rides on this lap. Turn 1, hit the brake, and you can see we actually just slightly run wide. So it's been a disaster class already on this lap, but it's not over. We can still fight back. We can still find the lap time. We can still find the potential out of it, but everything has to be perfect. Everything has to be on point from now onwards to how you can have a chance of going through the top 10. We are on the limit of the white lines, through the left, and then through the rights as well. I got that inverted, I should say, right and then left, and now into the braking zone. We are finding time on the delta, down, get the car rotated. That was very sweet. Back on the power, the rear twitching around as we're on the complete limit of the adhesion and grip available from the rear axle of the car. Into the end of sector 2, hit the brakes. Where can we get the apex? Can it be sweet? And now getting the rotation down, but a little bit wide again, but we carried phenomenal mid-corner speed, so still very good in that way. You can see we're just over it, well, just under a tenth up on Daniel Bresnay, who's done a 0.6 so far. So now into the final sequence of the corners here, and it's really critical to keep up that momentum and give ourselves that chance to go through into Q3. And now into the second last corner. Again, that was pretty committed. That was pretty good through there. Now onto the brakes. Let the car rotate right on the limit of the track limits. And that has been a very nice final corner. But it's P14. The time we lost in corner 1 was too much to make up. And yeah, not ideal, but it is a wet race here today with Inters transitioning to the full wet conditions. So every chance is available, every opportunity can be taken, and we are starting P14 in this race. So we have got places to make and places to go. Into turn 1, Schnacker just sends it down the inside, and we actually have to avoid him a little bit, but he gets the car stopped. Fair play, and now he's able to get the position over us, and we're still in P16, so we've dropped 2 positions, and we get quite lucky as there's been a massive crash on the outside there, and we've been promoted to P13 as a net result of that. So could have done better in turn 1, to be honest, as we lost the places, but then was able to make that back up for a bit of luck and fortune going through corner 2 and back up into P13 in this race. And you can see the weather is treacherous, the grip is low, and we're going to have to be on it. And you can see the cars ahead battling so hard into the hairpin that we actually get caught out by how slow people are going and tap the back of Schnacker. I asked for damage, but fortunately I don't have damage, but now we're all over the back of Nicolas Longuet and into the slipstream, and now we're going to be going down the inside. I'm surprised he doesn't cover the inside line here, but we're going to be taking that nevertheless. Deep on the brakes, getting the car up the inside, nicely stopped, and now we're going to be on the outside line of Nicolas Longuet, and we're able to just carry the speed around the outside, just squeezing the power, and now we're getting that place back deep on the brakes. And we actually get hit by Tamas behind us, but we were still able to keep our momentum, and we are going to be back into P13 on lap 1. So this is critical. See, Longuet and Tamas are still fighting behind, but Longuet has got back into P14, and he's all over the back of us, and we decide not to cover the inside, but he just sends it down the inside, and now just sort of taps us in the middle of the corner. But we are not going to be having any of that. We're going to be running side by side. We turn off our battery in the straight so we can get behind him, and now we look down the inside, we dummy him, we sell him the dummy, and then we go clean around the outside of him here in turn 1. We get the traction, and now we have the inside line for turn 2, and it's going to be side by side going into sequences, but for sure I'm not going to be backing out. We touch wheels, and now we have the inside line, and that is a lovely, lovely overtake. We got caught napping, but then we caught Nicolas napping in return and went clean around his outside in turn 1. So yeah, very happy with that overtake. It was very sweet, but now we are lap 2, and we have to sort of get back together and try to make our way up the field. It's going to be very, very, very difficult as we actually lock up the rear tyres. We got a bit distracted by Schnacker up ahead, and we ended up going wide as a net result of that. But nevertheless, with the traction on the outside line, we're able to get back on our position. So really scruffy, not optimal first opening laps here in COTA. So we need to do better as we defend the inside, just to make sure Nicolas can't go up the inside of us. We learned our lessons from lap 1, and now we are just going to have to try and fit back into the flow of this race and stop losing time battling needlessly in these situations. We cover the inside a little bit just to make sure he can't have that look up the inside, and now we're going to be able to get into our flow. And by lap 4, we have actually grown the gap to 1.2, 1.3 seconds to the cars behind, but we are just going to be stuck behind this train of 4 cars right ahead of us, and that's going to allow Tamas to close back in on us. He's going to look down the inside, and he's actually just going to hit us in the middle of the corner and just start pushing us wide.
He just hit me in the corner.
If you listen carefully, you'll hear me even in the live commentary in the actual race, hear me say he hit me in the corner. And now we're just going to not cover the inside fully because we don't need to, but just get the car slowed down at the apex, pick up good traction, but that's cost us a lot of time. But we have instantly made back up to Schnacker and the train up ahead. But I can tell you a little spoiler of that. This is where the race goes in the bin. This is where it goes horrendous. But you can see Duncan and Danny are battling up ahead, and they are just going to stop on the apex, and that causes the pendulum effect, and yeah, basically nothing I could do there. Going to have a quick little replay of this as well as we go through the corner, and we'll get into basically a slow motion replay in just 1 second. And as you can see now coming up on the screen, I couldn't do anything here. Duncan just stops on the apex, and that causes every car to hit each other. But because I had such a big closing distance to make up of 3 attempts, I didn't have enough reaction time because I was already committed to the corner. And because the deficit was 3 attempts, it meant that I just couldn't avoid it, basically. But nevertheless, even with almost 50% wing damage on the front left-hand side of the wing, we still actually have a decent pace. We're still able to keep up with the cars on these laps, as it was more and more wet in this sequence of time, so downforce in the front wing is a bit less relevant, as the car is sliding around so much that I could rotate the car on the rear axle and try to make up the time that way. So we're absolutely hauling the maximum possibilities out of the car right now, and you can see we're only half a second behind Shinaka, even with the wing damage, and now going into the hairpin. And you can see just going through there, and we get hit again
in the corner, man.
Yeah, I'm not really happy at this point because I've been hit 3 times in this race, just by people just hitting me in the rear in that situation. Of course, again, on top of that, with the wing damage, I was not a happy boy at this moment in time. But nevertheless, though, you can see we're actually closing up to Shinaka in these corners, so we still have a chance, even with the wing damage, to try and fight and maybe do something on the strategy to gain positions. But up the inside, Tamas goes and just taps us in the middle of the corner, and
push the pass.
Yeah, just taps me in the middle of the corner, and yeah, now we're side by side through the right-hander, and we do get the position back up to P13, but really not ideal at this point in time to be trying to move forward in this race. 8 tenths behind Shinaka now, and it is going to start getting more and more understeery. The track is going to start developing into more and more of an intercondition as the race goes on, so it's going to become more and more difficult for me to get front grip out of the car, as I'll have the lack of rotation, defending the inside line, and now just getting the car slowed down for the turn 1 apex very successfully, and now heading into the first sector split. So yeah, difficult race. At this point, we're hanging on really well, even with the wing damage, but lap 12, yeah, just became, you can see the track is visibly drier, and the drier and drier that the track became, the more and more understeer that I had, so just increased the difficulty for me to have the pace, basically. Yoni Tormula goes up the inside of me here. We're going to try and fight it. I'm not going to be dirty, I'm not going to be scrappy, whatever, but I am just going to try and fight it as much as possible. But you can see we took the outside line, took the better traction, and because of the better traction, we was able to get back ahead of him on the straight, using a lot of battery as well, trying to cover the inside. But Yodi goes up the inside of us, fair and square. We leave him the space on the apex, and now we're side by side on the exit. Just with the front wing damage, though, it's very difficult to carry minimum speed, so we're able to leave each other racing room and not hit each other in the corner, what was a nice bonus. And now you can see he gets the move done fair and square, and we are going to be focusing now on Yano behind us, who, of course, has a front wing, so it was a nice thing for him. And now he's going to be going down the inside of us in the braking zone. Again, we're going to leave him the space on the apex, and he's going to get the move done fair and square. We're going to try and lead the car on the inside here, but just nothing we could do with the minimum speed. And Nicholas Longley all over the back of us right now. And you can see we just cover the inside line and just get the car slowed down nicely at the apex. We do get wheel hooked on the middle of the corner, so you can see the car fighting in the apex as they got pulled wide because of that. But yeah, I think you're going to see something quite interesting in a second. And now we're going through the left-hander. We're going to cover the inside just marginally, then open up the corner again. And Nicholas just, yeah, yeah, was interesting. But nevertheless, now we've lost position to Jake as well. But now we're going to be going around the outside of Nicholas, so it's much a repeat of lap 1. And even with the wing damage, no battery, and the tyres falling off a cliff because I've scrubbed the front right tyre because of the understeer so much, we get the position back. But yeah, we cut to the end of the race because nothing else really interesting happened, to be honest, and I don't want to waste your time just showing you highlights of just pointless stuff of me just dragging the video out more for more ad revenue. Yeah, we had damage. We tried to fight the race as much as possible. We tried to stay as close to people as possible in case they had in case they got damage or they had a penalty in any way. But yeah, we fought the race as much as possible. So yeah, sometimes these races happens. I know, to be honest, it's just one of those things. It was really one of those situations I couldn't avoid. So it was just unlucky in that situation. But I'm really happy with the pace we had in practice and the pace in qualifying. We could have done better with how clean we got our laps together. But the pace is there, and we're really improving in a nice way in the raw pace and general pace as well. So, everyone, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back out in action for Brazil in PSGL on Wednesday night. So yeah, thank you everyone for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Grazie, ciao, ciao, bye bye.